All right.
I knew it. Looks like the memories we regained are true after all.
The 3 wards were all in the same place.
Pretty sure I picked Carlos here. I see. I bet all those fragments are the exact same thing.
Carlos?
Akane. Junpei.
Why are you beat up? I don't know. I got bored and
and
tried to
Eric.
rape her. It was weird.
And you're Sean, right?
Hello.
Carlos, what happened?
Proof of friendship.
Anyway, what are
What?
you guys doing here?
According to the schedule, C team and Q team should both still be asleep.
We took a page out of your book and did what you did. We used the cards to keep the bracelet needle from injecting us.
So, does that mean?
Yeah, I remember everything.
I do too. Junpei and I as well.
Over the past few hours, we got back the memories we forgot.
Well, to be more accurate, it's more like we accessed the morphogenetic field and
Shut up.
downloaded all of them.
Then you have the other history's memories too?
Yes.
Then you're like us.
But why?
Hold up. Eric and I are different.
Yeah. We didn't gain memories from other histories.
Then neither of you got injected?
No, we're the same as Carlos and the others.
I told them. Maybe I'll start from the beginning. First, so I could run the program in the Force Quit box, I accessed the central control computer. Then, I briefly turned off the communication network. That way, I stopped the surveillance cameras from sending any data to Zero. I didn't want Zero to catch on to what we were doing.
And that's when Sean let us in on the truth of what's going on here.
We went over to the transporter room and picked up 2 cards. Before the injection, we each slipped one between our wrist and bracelet.
Okay. Now you two make sense. But what about you, Sean?
Well, you probably already know, but I'm a robot. Being injected does nothing to me.
Then
Every time the time limit approached, I was forced to go into sleep mode. Then my memories from the previous 90 minutes were deleted. I didn't want that to happen, so... You remember me saying I accessed the computer? Well, I hacked my own system too.
He said he managed to cancel the forced sleep and delete functions.
What about C-Team then?
We couldn't interrupt the surveillance cameras, so we had to be sneaky instead.
First, Carlos pushed me down and climbed on top of me.
He what?
It was just an act. I was only pretending to do it.
Carlos used
Was that
that
Sigma
moment
going like,
to whisper
hey,
in my
hey,
ear.
hey, man.
He said to go to the transporter room and grab the cards in there.
Ah,
But
the rape was a
if I just let it
ruse.
go like that, it looked suspicious. So Junpei and I stayed behind to get Zero's undivided attention. I casually invited Junpei to the power room. You can see the result of our conversation.
You should have told me what was up.
If I had, then Zero would have figured it out. You look like you'd be a crap actor.
And after that?
We met Akane in the lounge. We hid from the cameras, and each got a card from her.
Sorry, but could I get confirmation on something? Everyone knows what all happened in the other histories, right?
Even you, Mira and Eric?
Didn't Eric say so earlier? Sean told us everything.
But wait. Why?
Why what?
Why do we know about the other histories?
Huh?
Well, that's probably...
You want to know?
Oh, hello! It's the bad guy. He has the gun. Hey everybody, it's the final antagonist of the series. Old man
Well,
with
maybe
gun.
It's actually Zero.
You are free to call me by my given name, which is Delta. There's no need to look so threatening. You were the one who named me, Diana. It doesn't matter. I shall answer your question. Carlos, Akane, Junpei, Diana, Phi, and Sigma. All 6 of you know that you are shifters, correct? Think back on your path to this very moment. Did you arrive at this history by following a normal flow of time? No, of course you didn't. You jumped in from another history using your shift abilities. And it wasn't just this once. You have been shifting back and forth many, many times. From one point in space-time to another. You boldly took chances, much like jumping from one tree branch to another. You have forgotten that fact, perhaps as a result of the medicine, or as one of the side effects of shifting. Regardless, your memories have been kept firmly intact within the morphogenetic field. It is simply that the 6 of you regained the memories of those times. One small trigger, and the levee preventing you from remembering collapsed. Sean is a similar case. However, his thought center is located within the quantum computer, so I suppose it's slightly different from you.
What about me and Mira?
You are both like me, in that we do not have the ability to shift.
You don't?
I have another power instead. The power to mind hack.
Fuck!
Hack?
Fuck you. Fuck you and the horse that you hacked in on. Mind hacking. Fucking whatever, sure. Alright, he does
people's
that.
minds. I know the thoughts and ideas that go through their heads. That's why I know exactly what Phi is trying to do right now. Step away from that device, Phi.
Then, when we blocked the injection...
I saw through your ruse.
Then why did you...
I wanted all of you to play the final decision game.
The final decision game?
I find human decisions fascinating. More specifically, the world branching that occurs as a result. I already mentioned that I am unable to shift. But after looking inside millions of minds, histories, I learned one thing. There are people in this world with the ability to jump between histories. That shifters exist. Hence, why I know so much about these parallel worlds.
You did all this because you were curious?
When a person does something significant, it's difficult to boil the reason down to one word. Their motives are often very complex. It is the same
Yours
now.
isn't.
To fulfill several objectives, it was necessary to trap all of you in here.
So why did you do it?
You want to know?
No, she was just being funny.
It is so you give birth to Phi and myself, Diana.
Hands in the armpits.
What do you mean?
Phi and I are the children of Diana and Sigma.
Phi is...
Wait. They're children?
November 16th, 2029. Phi and I were born in this shelter. This was another history, of course. Shortly after, the atomic data that makes up our bodies was transported to April 1904. The transporter was located in a German research facility at that time. Our bodies reconstructed and regenerated in the export pods at that facility.
But that would mean you're actually...
I'm 124.
You're joking.
But Phi is...
A German researcher sent her to 2008.
Okay.
Records indicate that she was part of an experiment.
You're saying Phi jumped back in time from 2029 to the year 1904, and then forward again to 2008?
Technically, what was sent both times was simply the data makeup of Phi's body.
I heard that in 2008, the device was being studied in an American facility.
That's when an old couple who were researchers took me in.
We've gone off topic.
This is a lot of effort to make it so these siblings are a century apart.
Everything that occurred here helped create Phi and myself. And when I say that, I am including all of the other histories. If I hadn't trapped the group of you here, then Phi and I would have never been born in our current forms.
Once again,
Your current
the
forms?
reason that the game happens is so that the thing that already happened happened.
Epigenetics.
Every game has done
You see,
this.
Environmental factors determine which
All right.
switches are activated within the genetic code. Reproductive cells are the same. Or perhaps I should say that the reproductive cells are the ones most affected.
Oh, I get it. That's why you made Diana and Sigma play the decision game.
What do you mean?
By backing them into a crisis situation, he caused an epigenetic change within their reproductive cells.
A what?
I think that's why their children were born with unique powers.
Gold Star. This is the reason I have my mind-hacking abilities. Phi was affected as well. You were born a shifter. D-Team, do you recall what was written on your wall?
When a curious hate oozes calamity.
And rearranging the letters gives you
No way. What you choose can materialize us.
Oh, our decisions will bring you to life.
That is why the decision games were held. So that the Phi and me, here now, would materialize exactly the way we are.
No, but... Okay, so I get why you had to have Diana and Sigma go through life or death decisions. But the rest of us had nothing to do with...
I already told you. My motives are complex.
I'm getting real tired of this guy.
Wait, there's more?
Oh, what?
Fuck you, you goddamn old man!
Fine, no!
You did it.
It's over.
Stop giving Eric the gun. I know this is a good situation, but just, he's not allowed.
What?
He's not allowed.
Diana, take this. Put it in. Your bluebird, too.
That was the slowest moving thing ever. Whatever, go put it in. Hey, look, we beat the bad guy.
Verified. Key items were set. Executing Force Quit program. 10 minutes until explosion.
Well, that's one way to quit, isn't it?
What?
Oh, no! The hell? What is this?
Oh, no, I might have gotten hiccups.
Hey, answer me! What's with that announcement?
Must I explain? This shelter will soon explode. You've worked so hard, only to turn on this facility's self-destruct mechanism.
Sean, access the central control computer.
It's no use. Once the Force Quit program has been activated, there is no possible way for you to reverse it.
Then what can we do?
I will tell you two good things. First, I suggest checking behind the bar counter.
Are there drinks? A little drinky doodle?
Oh, no!
Why would you?
Gab.
No!
Gab's been...
Did you kill Gab?
Now I don't like him.
With the shotgun you're holding. There wasn't much life left in him anyway.
Bastard! He was gonna kill so many people!
I never expected to hear that coming from you, Sean.
So what's the other thing? You had two things to tell us.
Oh, yeah.
I have the ability to mind hack.
We already know that.
But I've not told you everything about it. Reading other people's thoughts isn't the only thing I can do with mind hacking. It only lasts a moment, but I am able to control someone's body as I wish. Like this.
Oh. Alright. Hey, Eric, this isn't your fault, but it's your fault.
Why?
No, for real, my finger just...
Mind hacking.
Understand now. This is my power.
Yeah, cool demo, bro.
So, let's begin. Your final decision game. You have two choices. One, to stay here and wait to die. The other is... The other is...
This is the dumbest antagonist. Your choices are...
Hey!
Fuck, maybe I should have told you before the bullets.
The other option?
Well, don't have much time.
5 minutes until explosion.
Yeah, we don't have enough time.
Well, what should we do? What about the X door?
And how exactly should we open it? Unless 6 people die, it's gonna stay closed. Or should we start killing each other now?
Mira?
I have an idea.
Which is?
We're going to shift, all of us, together.
Hey, hold on. Like jumping to another history?
But where?
But Eric and
I'm sure it will be fine. Remember what I said? Human consciousness may be a result of quantum effects in the brain.
Oh, yeah. You said if certain conditions are met, we can also...
What are the conditions?
First, you need to be exposed to danger. And the other one is...
You gotta have your hands in your
Be
armpits.
in the vicinity of a group of shifters.
Eric can do this really well.
We'll resonate, and then Mira and Eric can...
But which history are we going to jump to?
None of the similar histories will work. One team is likely to be dead after the vote.
And we can't shift if there are no bodies for us to jump to, right?
Oh shit. The first ending.
We need to jump to where all of us are alive.
Yeah.
When we're all alive.
Just have everybody shift to when we won the coin
Do you
toss.
mean...
Yeah. I'm smart.
The history, where we won the coin toss.
3 minutes until explosion.
I'm not sure I get it all, but it's a good idea.
What are you saying? There's no way we could do that.
Yeah,
Why not?
Shift isn't simply jumping into bodies in different histories.
Our consciousnesses swap places. Ours for theirs.
We'll be forcing our other selves into these bodies, and they'll die without knowing why.
And?
Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
What?
Well, they're all living without a care off in another history, yeah? One time, they do the coin toss once and win? Don't you think that's unfair?
Mira, you're saying they, but we're talking about ourselves here.
This is so...
We should
She makes a
consider
good
if
point.
this
She's like,
really
hey, we went
about
through
us.
puzzles and episodes.
Good point.
They were done like 10
We
minutes in.
assume
That's
that
not
we
fair.
here are the true versions, then the us and the other history are essentially strangers.
Even more of a reason not to.
If we shift to that history, then we're tossing the others under the bus to save ourselves.
The us in that history have done nothing
Hello,
wrong.
gamers. KZ here.
The only thing they did was win at a coin
Sigma's
toss.
plan
You could
this
say the
entire
same
time
for us.
was to
The only
avert
thing
a
we
dark
did
future,
was lose
and
a coin
the
toss.
one way for him to
Even
potentially
so,
do that and have everything
we've
turn
had to
out
go through
okay,
so much
he
shit.
doesn't want to do
We've been
because it'd be
forced
mean
put
to his
our
other
lives
self.
on the line.
Besides, aren't the bodies in the other histories ours anyway?
Then why should we second guess ourselves?
Huh.
1 minute until explosion.
We're out of time. I'll say it again. We have 2 choices. We can stay here and wait for our deaths, or survive by sacrificing our other selves in another history.
So that's what that bastard meant. The final decision game.
Okay. I mean, we gotta see where this takes us. Well, there she goes. Well, given that Zero is dead, this choice is just completely out of character. It's the most non-canon one you could do, to be honest. Because when you think about it, at its core, like, that one's just... It's the one you would not do. You would just not do that one. Alright, so... let's do the decision again. Because Akane, as well as Sigma and Phi, all came here for one specific reason. It feels almost completely out of character for them to get cold feet in this aspect. Especially Akane, a cold bitch who doesn't care so long as we get this shit done. So let's do it. We shifted. There. Right after the first ending of the game. Let's go. Payoff, too. Alright. How does this game end? Man, I'm blowing out my voice. This is the mistake of recording like 3 hours and realizing, oh shit, you're beating the game today.
Damn, I can't remember anything.
Me neither.
Neither can I.
It somehow feels like I made a bet with someone, but...
Someone?
What kind of bet?
It's the coin.
Did we all...
Here we go.
Who is this kid?
Alright. At this point, we should be popping in. Yeah, there we go. Again, it's hilarious that all of the characters basically jump and throw their minds into the timeline in which they win within the first 5 minutes of the entire game. That's kind of a neat idea. Well, it all worked out.
Did
Are
we
we just
do it?
gonna ignore the fact that Mira's a serial killer,
We're not
though?
wearing the bracelets, so I don't know the time. But
Judging by the position of the sun, it's probably noonish.
Shut up. Jesus.
And the
Why are you
date?
so smart? I mean,
How would I know?
Hey, Mira. Eric,
I guess it would be obvious.
do you remember
if it's
me?
up in the sky. You know, I just
Yeah.
want to complain about her. Sorry.
I definitely remember you.
Then we really did.
Must have worked.
Life is unfair,
Oh, God.
don't you think?
The dog. He's alive.
Bastard.
17 years ago, a snail.
Oh my
traveled
shut up
down a
about the
narrow
snail.
path in the park. If that snail hadn't been there,
Unless you're like
perhaps
Gabs the snail,
all
then
of
I'll
you
shit.
here would have lived a completely different life than you did. Just one small snail, and everyone's
I agree, Sigma.
lives,
I agree.
even the world, changed.
So, what's the big deal?
Get your hands out of those pits.
Would you just quit talking nonsense?
Hey, look at dog. What's up, doggo?
I'm so glad you were safe.
Of course we were. You all have shifted in from another history.
Whatever. We gotta call the cops.
And What exactly will that accomplish?
Isn't it obvious? We're throwing you in the slammer.
And my crime?
Murder.
Murder? I see. But I haven't killed anyone. Specifically, in this history, not a single person has died. I strongly doubt the police would listen.
But in the other histories, you...
Did you not pay attention? I don't have the ability to shift. The only reason I know anything of those histories is because I mind-hacked you. In effect, the me you know is a different person than the one before you. Can I be charged for killing someone in another history? If so, then I'd say this world would be full of criminals of all kinds.
What about conspiracy to commit?
Yeah. I'm betting this history's got a bunch of dangerous machines and gimmicks all over the shelter.
Unfortunately, I have removed them all. You've slept for quite a while.
Oh
Nothing
my god.
is left in the shelter. No transporter, no quantum computer. Loaded into a truck and taken away. Sean is able to move right now due to radio signals received from a satellite.
Then let's just beat you to death.
Why? Aren't you happy? I say again, in this history, not a single person has died. Phi and I exist, and there will never be an outbreak of Radical 6. There is only a bright future ahead for all of us. Is this not what you'd call a happy end?
It's something.
According to you, all of mankind will die if time passes and nothing is done.
A religious fanatic, a terrorist attack that sparks a nuclear war.
I heard this story. You said you released Radical 6 so that you could kill that person.
The me before you did not say that, but I can't deny it's true.
Radical 6 won't spread throughout the world in this history.
That means that fanatic guy won't die.
Wait, so now humans will go extinct?
Hey, where's that happy future you mentioned?
Interesting. Does that make you angry, Phi?
What?
If so, then we have a serious contradiction. I had prepared a future in another history where 2 billion would survive. But yet, you decided to jump to this history. That means you chose a future where humanity goes extinct, over 6 billion dead.
No, you're wrong, Delta. Nothing in the future has been determined yet. We'll shape the future with our own hands.
Huh. You said something I can get behind, Carlos.
I think so too.
I agree.
Okay, me too.
Mira.
You're right. The future has infinite possibilities.
If we work together, we can accomplish anything.
Humanity's gonna die out? Screw that.
We'll definitely change that horrible future.
What's so funny?
Just that.
What the hell do you mean?
I'm sure I told you in another history that my motives are complex.
Well, it turns out
Imagine.
They are.
What if none of you had experienced the events that occurred in the shelter. You're so determined now to change the future. One of the goals of all of this was to get you into that frame of mind. It's all going according to plan, without a single casualty. I created a future where mankind will be saved. Does that upset you? Are you angry that your life was played with? Very well. I will give all of you one last choice.
Hey, a gun. Do I get to shoot him? I want to shoot him.
With that gun there,
yeah,
you will be able to choose whether to kill me now or allow me to leave. I promise
pick up this controller.
I won't use mind hacking on you.
Neat.
You are free to decide. Which shall it be? Pull the trigger, or let me go. The fates of you, me, and mankind are all on the line. This is the decision game.
Oh god, they just cut. Alright, yeah, so the final decision game is left up to your own interpretation. Is that what this game is gonna do now? This entire series that exhaustively tries its damnedest to answer your questions and exhaustively just show you everything. And a game, this game specifically, built upon you choosing what to do. And they don't let you make the final choice. Alright, that is some way of doing that, but ultimately that puts things in perspective, I guess. In the end, if we go by the entire game's plot, we have... Wow, that really does put it into perspective. So this entire thing was organized... Oh, was that DC Douglas? That's neat. That's neat. He's a good voice actor. So, given the fact that we learned that Free the Soul was in control of Cradle Pharmaceuticals, I believe was the name, which was the 999 corporation headed up by Hongo, or Ace, from 999. That would mean that he helped organize the kidnappings because he controlled that company from the shadows, which helped build 999, which effectively means that he was the one behind everything in 999, a plan in which Akane ends up dying, but then has to use Junpei from the future to save her, but then she has to do the first Nonary game to effectively make it so that all the players are in place so she can continue to live. And then she must go execute her next plan. She forms Crash Keys. Then it's like, I need to prevent the Radical 6 outbreak as it kills 6 billion people. So then she has to do the AB project, which involves sending that Sigma to space, and then VLR happens, and then all that other shit happens, because we need to stop Radical 6 from breaking out here in DCOM, or as I call it, Dickum. And then we go here, but surprise, surprise, Free the Soul has attacked it, and it's taken control of this game, and makes it like a decision game thing that we just played through. But as it turns out, the entire reason behind him taking it over was because there was some random dude completely unrelated to the plot the entire time who is just crazy, and he starts a nuclear war that just kills all of humanity. So he decides that the best course of action is to release Radical 6 into the world to kill 6 billion people, which, when our main characters figure that out, clearly are going to want to stop that, so they go to the source of where that happens, which then puts them in the decision game, headed up by him. Then they do all of this, they win the game effectively, get the motivation to fix this future that they are now in, now that they know that there's the dude that is going to set off the nukes, which means that off screen, now that this game is done, they'll probably work together, and because they can do shifting and whatever the fuck they want, they'll eventually find a future in which they win. But then you also have to think about how much of a long play this is, because you also have Free the Soul. You have Delta making efforts by having clones of his not real brother Dio, who also come in to try and disrupt the AB project, but that's also a part of his plan, because he's playing 8-dimensional chess with this whole game. So the entire time, the main antagonist is actually a super good protagonist, and people that have been puppet masters this entire time for the greater good, like Akane, have been manipulated this entire time. In fact, he has controlled everything. That is the entire plot, as I understand it, and the plan behind Delta, this final Zero, the second Zero, who is effectively the last Zero. Kinda. Well, actually, he is the last Zero, because we are now in a timeline in which Sigma never becomes Zero. But then we're also in a timeline where 6-year-old man's consciousness exists within the 20-year-old. But then we also are in an existence where, well, there's a lot of weird family shit going on. Alright, so I want to go ahead and get ready to close this out. There are data logs that you can access after you beat the game. They give you... They tell you what the aftermath is for some characters, and as far as I looked, there is nothing for Sigma, Phi, or Diana. I tried looking, and looking through all of it, the only post-game stuff I got was for the other two teams. I think it's pretty obvious what they would do. They'd be working with Junpei and Akane to stop this, and I'm sure Carlos is assisting as well. The epilogue for those teams are as follows. For C-Team, thanks to all this stupid bullshit, Carlos knows how to fix his sister's, disease and stuff, so she's doing better. Akane and Junpei are getting married. They're all gonna go find that fanatic that's gonna nuke the world. They, leave you up to interpretation on whether or not Delta is killed or not, because that is something that they wanted to make me mad one last time. Oh, maybe, how about this? Mira has now turned herself in because she's still a serial killer. However, they're like, man, if only there was a way for, you to change your ways, and make up for what you've done. And at this point, Sean breaks through the prison bars and the visitor center and breaks her out of prison, and they're all gonna go find the transporter because Sean knows where it is, and they're gonna go in there and then transport themselves back in time so that they can stop a young version of her from committing murders. Will that effectively ruin the entire plot of this game? Because then she won't have the things she needed for the events of this game to happen, because I feel like her being a murderer is pretty integral to some of the parts of this plot. I don't know. I don't know. Without just saying the game's bad over and over again, I guess I can be frank. The series overall is alright. I think the story overall is okay. I've seen a lot of opinions on this game in particular being a bad entry and a terrible end to the series, when in actuality it really isn't. It is about the same as VLR, to be honest. I think VLR gets more of a positive reception, one, because it did not hinge a lot of its production values on these cutscenes with 3D models. It stayed with the visual novel style. The other thing would be that it had a lot more questions that weren't answered yet, so people had a chance to not be disappointed if they didn't like the way things were going. But ultimately, I think this game, as a video game, as a game, in the loosest term you can give these types of games, this is the best one. I think it has a lot more input in it. One, I think the puzzles were better, even if I didn't show them on screen. They had a better variety to them. The fact that they let you enter in names and having variations and other extra funny results depending on what you do, I think is really interesting. And everything here is handled well. It all comes down to preference, though, whether or not you like how they do the fragmented style of a story when you're going through these fragments in the flowchart. It is a bit of a tougher pill to swallow compared to what you had to what you would deal with in the other games, where you would basically play until there was some definitive end or there was a moment where you couldn't proceed. And I guess they really realized that it's kind of stupid that you would constantly play VLR, for example, and reach locks where it's like, okay, time to stop. Here, it at least makes sense within the confines of the game. And when the game starts doing all of its payoffs are earned and good, for the most part. There is some silly stuff going on with it, but in the end, I think this is solid. I don't see this being worse than any of the other games that came before it. In the end, it does have problems, though. It has plenty of problems. A lot of them come with the production values being at parody levels. It is hilarious how bad some of this shit looks. And the sound effects and all of it just seems so amateurish, and I feel like a lot of people would not have had a problem if they just saw what they had with VLR and just did that. I mean, in the end, I feel like you would have had to put a lot more work to do all of this dynamic cutscenes, and instead just, did what they did with VLR, where it's just models standing in place, changing their pose, and having a dialogue box there. I feel like that would have been more approachable for people, but for me personally, I'm glad they went with this route. This route's better, because it means that the game is going to play these things out naturally, and it was a step up. It was a step up visually and in presentation from VLR, but unfortunately, that isn't very hard. You can see less flaws with VLR's presentation just because it was so bare bones of, we're going to be talking, there's a text box. Here they made an effort, which in the end it was hilarious to see. Overall, the other problem it has is the fact that the epilogue for this game is used for... You know what? I'm going to say this. The epilogue for this game is a series of text boxes, or a series of text things that I said there. I wish they didn't exist. I wish they just didn't even say it. Because, to be honest, the idea of going through the entire game, finishing it, having that ending, and then it's like, oh, if you go into the files, you can find out what happened to these characters. Like, no. Why don't you just leave the game like that? It feels like they just did it to, satisfy fans who maybe wanted to know. Maybe they'd like, please confirm that these two characters that are in a very damaging relationship are gonna fuck. It's like stuff like that. It's cool that it's there, but clearly they didn't have the budget, or they just didn't feel like going through with animating those scenes, so I feel like they just shouldn't have existed at all. Overall, the ending, I think, ends strong. It ends strong. I would have liked the idea of, hey, give me the choice to kill or not kill, but I guess the idea of, leaving it up to your own interpretation of, do you shoot Delta or not, can be something, but in the end, I guess that doesn't really matter, because in the end it just means you're going to have an old guy who can mind hack and help you take out this final villain, or not. In the end, I think the series is fine. Each game kind of... The first game is a completely different tone, which I think is also kind of interesting, where the first game feels like more visual novel that does a couple of twists you don't expect for if you play visual novels before, and it has a horror element. And then the next two games kind of try to put that in there, but it's mostly sci-fi super, super, super heavy sci-fi that are very much linked together and are really important. But to close out, this has been a big part of this channel for a while. You guys have thoroughly enjoyed this, I would like to assume. 80 episodes-ish in total, and it is finally coming to a close. I would like to thank everybody for supporting the series throughout its run. We've tried to basically do all of the games in a row, and we've done that for the most part with a couple of breaks in between. But that is it. That is it for the Zero Escape series as a whole. With these 3 games, the third game, a game that apparently was never going to happen until the West begged for it. And I guess it was Spike Chunsoft finally just, bit the bullet and went for it. And I think it was alright. In the end, if I had to say what my favorite of these games was, it's very hard. It would either be the second or third game. If I had to choose, I genuinely didn't like some of the characters in VLR, but VLR has a lot of really great moments in it. This one has has a lot of much better stuff in it. Overall, they're about the same in ways. But yeah, that's it. That's it. This piece of shit is done. I think I'm a bit more positive on it now that I'm kind of free from it. So, thank you for watching. I hope you will stick around on the channel for future projects. We're done. My videos are complex.